We'll now move on to the last motion of today's meeting, which is Warwick SU Against Casualisation. Do we have first speech in favour of the motion? Okay, Nat, please.
Postgraduates provide thousands of hours of excellent teaching at Warwick to thousands of students. It is only right that these integral members of teaching staff, 1, get paid for the hours that they work, including teaching, demonstrating, facilitating, preparation, marking, advice, and feedback. 2, get paid at a rate that reflects the importance and the high level of their work. And 3, get treated with the respect that they deserve. Under the current casualised model of work, these 3 simple asks cannot be achieved. Inherently, casualisation is disrespectful to those who teach and to those who are taught. It denies teachers of basic employment rights, creates precariousness for workers, encourages short-termism whilst discouraging development, fosters a transactional environment and inhibits creativity and innovation. Ultimately, no matter how committed casualised teachers are and how long and hard they work, the pressures of the system will also be felt by those being taught. Casualisation devalues teaching and undermines the long-term position of teaching at this university. We must work with hourly paid tutors, Warwick Anti-Casualisation, and with academic trade union UCU to achieve proper recognition and rights for doctoral students and casualised teachers, including contracts of employment, fully funded research bursaries covering fees and stipends, collective bargaining rights, pay at high enough grade, sufficient paid preparation time for all work, paid for training and development, and equal access to internal teaching opportunities for all. After the aborted outsourcing and money spinner teach hire and the lengthy semi-standardisation process of the sessional teaching payroll, the university must not wait any longer to address in earnest the real concerns around casualisation. To provide a solid foundation to campaign from, the Students' Union must have a robust, no compromises policy and a powerful mandate from its members. So please vote for this motion to help our hourly paid teachers.
Thank you. Do we have a speech speaking against of this motion? A speech speaking against of the motion. We'll open the debate to the floor. So anyone has any questions or points to make about the motion? Yes, the person with blue t-shirt.
Well, I think it's quite silly that we're even having to discuss this or even like debate it and not just vote on it and pass it straight away. Because when I first got here in October, I didn't actually know who was teaching us. I didn't know they were postgraduates. I thought I'd actually paid qualified full-time staff, and I've actually had very little contact time with lecturers. Pretty much all my help I've got is from staff. So for them not to be paid fairly, treated with a proper contract, I think it's kind of a joke, to be honest. And I think anybody from it's not even due to political orientation, whatever, it's just a practice of fairness. They're putting in a lot of time. They've helped me a lot with my work. And I just think it's a joke that the university even considers treating them in such a way. So, to be honest, it's not really a debate. It's more just a vote and pass it, to be honest.
Thank you. The person in grey shirt, yes.
Thank you very much. Kind of similar points to actually what I said on the last similar motion. So again, I'm very, very much supportive of this. But what is the SU looking to in also, let's say, in, again, preparing perhaps for any different types of industrial action to ensure fair wages, and also perhaps linking up with other universities who I imagine are facing similar things? If there could be some clarifications on those 2 issues, that'd be really, really helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nat will give a clarification on that, please. Thank you.
So casualisation is an issue across the sector, and I think it's now becoming a really hot topic. It's been in the news a lot, and a lot of students' unions are now fighting on this matter, which they weren't a few years ago, which is really great. And I think what we really need to do is kind of bring together the best wins that we've had at different unions and different universities, so we can actually compare what's going on. Because we know at Warwick a lot of things are really bad, but some things are better than at other universities. So if we can compare and kind of bring everyone up to a better level, that'd be great. In terms of what we'll do here at Warwick, well, we'll continue to work with the students who are affected. We'll continue to work with Warwick UCU, and the policy allows us to kind of support any sort of industrial action or direct action related to improving these conditions. So, we are up for a fight if we need one.
All right, thank you. Can we pass the mic to the person at the back in a blue shirt? Yes.
Thank you very much. I think what really concerns me about this motion and some of the things earlier is the extent to which there's such a sense of entitlement in the SU. Postgrads, they're all grown-ups. If they didn't want to do this, then surely they would make their own views clear and not sign up to it in the first place. And so really, to what extent should voluntary postgrads be compulsory subscribed to your subjective definition of right?
Thank you. Would Nat like to make a direct response? Yes, please.
Okay, well, I completely disagree with that. I think most people probably do as well. There actually have been, up until this coming autumn, there have been departments which have forced postgraduates to teach. So by notion of being able to study at the University of Warwick in a postgraduate degree, you have to teach. We've finally managed to break that link. If you actually want to be funded for your PhD, so you have enough to live on and enough to pay your fees, again, you may have to take on a teaching bursary. Again, we have managed to break that link, but it doesn't mean that the funding that will be offered is sufficient to cover that. You need to eat and live. So, and there's just a general kind of power dynamic. You are coming to the University of Warwick, you are given sometimes the option, either you have to teach at Warwick or you don't come to Warwick. And that should not be a choice that a student should have to make, whether undergraduate, postgraduate, or any other. So I think there's no justification for using any of those arguments against this motion.
All right, thank you. Do we have further comments? Yes, the person that spoke just now as well.
Okay, so they might force postgrads to teach, but do they force postgrads to be postgrads? I mean, surely if they were unhappy with it, then they wouldn't sign up for it in the first place. I mean, I think that's quite a simple point.
Does anyone want to respond to that comment? Hope? Shall we pass the mic to Hope?
I'm sorry. I literally don't even understand what is going on here. The basic principle that people should be paid fairly for the work that they do. There are postgrad teachers who are doing overtime to produce your education, and you are saying that they don't have a right to be paid for that. That is disgraceful. We are a students' union. We are a union. We fight for rights. That's what we do. And our students work in these conditions, and we have to fight for them. I'm done.
Okay. I'll first take the point from the person in blue t-shirt, and then we'll go to get to the person in green in blue shirt.
I'll try and persuade the toys at the back myself. It's more of an essence of fairness. I don't really think we should kind of bring into the fact that whether they have the right or the ability to become a postgrad based on this, whether they want to or not. That's just silly. I mean, that's not really an argument to do with this. I think that if they're doing their job, and I've seen them doing an amazing job, and they're really engaging in the lectures, and they're marking my work, they're marking my essays, I mean, if anything, we're kind of incentivizing better work by them, kind of more of them to do it at a higher standard if we do encourage fixed contracts and fixed wages. If anything, it would actually make productivity increase, makes everything better for. So actually, from a libertarian argument, I would say it's probably best to have this contract and have higher wages. Because if you're going to just force them to work on the bread and butter, I wouldn't be incentivized to mark an essay properly. I don't know about you. And they're postgrads. They're part of the kind of wider student community. Let's fight for their rights. They're not separate to us. They're part of us. They're part of our community. So yeah, we might as well fight for them as well as fighting for undergrads.
If I had in fact said that they should not be paid or should not be paid fairly, then that ridiculous response would have been in some way justified. But my point was, why should they be forced to comply with your subjective definition of right and fairness when they are adults and they can decide what contracts work best for them themselves? They choose to do these things voluntarily. They are not compelled to do so.
I'll take the point from person in grey shirt, and then yes.
Thomas as well. Just ignoring like the obvious nutter in the back.
I don't think
Oh, okay.
that's very
Ignoring the
acceptable
person
knowledge.
with strange political views who believes that workers, shouldn't be paid and should just, kind of live off thin air. I'd also actually want to point out, kind of actually on my own point, is the a similar campaign actually went on in KCL, led by a person called Joe Attard, and the campaign that was incredibly successful on postgrad rights. If you go in contact with them, I'd be very happy to, he's a good friend of mine, I'd be very happy to try and create that link just so we can kind of, actually share knowledge of how to, fight back against Tories who don't want working people to live, really. Thank you very much.
Just a reminder that everyone's expected to speak in a language that respects other political views and constrain their speeches on the motions as opposed to attack towards individuals or particular political views. Just a reminder on that. So shall I take a point at the front? Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah, so I think Nat has just pointed out that postgraduates are being forced to teach as part of their postgraduate education. And if they want to come to Warwick, then they are forced to do that. And if they want to pursue an academic career, they're forced to get a postgraduate degree, and they're not free to choose whether or not to do a postgraduate degree. You are telling people if they don't want the kind of conditions and the kind of pay they're receiving as part of their teaching that is forced upon them as part of their postgraduate degree, they should just not get a degree. And that is not even an argument. That is such a poor point. I'm sorry, it is ridiculous. I want to see you, possibly being interested in getting a PhD, going there and then saying, oh, well, I have to teach, I don't want to do this. I guess I just won't get a PhD and do something else because, I don't like the pay. I'll change my life completely instead of changing the pay conditions. That is just ridiculous.
I'll take a point from Nat first. Thank you.
I think the question is, do we want Warwick University to be open to those who are capable of doing postgraduate degrees or just to those who can afford it? And really, even if a student decided not to come and do postgraduate study here at Warwick, going down the road to another university, they'd find similarly dire conditions. So I think, why not fight for the best rights for our students here? Like we said, poor teaching conditions will exacerbate the problems and will have an effect on the teaching conditions for students.
Thank you. I'll take Hope's point.
Yeah, so the point that was made about the fact that postgraduates know what contract is best for them, which is what you just said, yes, that is absolutely true, and that is why this entire campaign has been based on what postgraduates who teach are saying about their working conditions. This is not something that has been dreamt up by people who don't experience this. This is a campaign, a grassroots campaign, that the entire way along has been led by those very people. And I'd actually like to take this opportunity to thank Nat Panda, our postgraduate officer, and Warwick Anti-Casualisation for the incredible campaign that they have run so successfully, that they've put hours of voluntary work into to demonstrate exactly how they are being screwed over by this university and exactly why it is unfair. So the point that you raised, you literally just proved our point by making that statement. So thank you very much. Vote for this motion.
Do we have further comments on this motion? If not, shall we move on to the summary speech? Can we have a 1-minute summary speech speaking in favor of the motion? Yes? Emily, second row. Thank you.
I'll stay seated because I'm in the middle. So I'm going to keep it quite brief. Anti-casualisation affects all students. It doesn't matter what year you're in, whether or not you just started or whether you've been here for 7 years. Teaching bursaries ultimately means students work for free. Tutors aren't being paid fairly. They're not being given job security. So on one hand, these are your teachers. These are the people marking your papers, making the decisions that ultimately give you a degree grade. So supporting this motion from that viewpoint gives you a better learning condition. but they're also your peers. A lot of these people on casualised contracts are postgraduate students. So they're students, so they are your peers, members of the union that you're also part of. And as a result of that, you have to support them. These are the people who are alongside you as members of the union, as students alongside you.
Thank you. Can we have a summary speech that's speaking against of the motion? Do we have a summary speech that speaks against of the motion? Do we have a summary speech speaking against of the motion? If not, then we will move on to the indicative vote. So a vote in favor of the motion? Against? Abstain? Majority have shown in favor of this motion.